Polis for next Thursday, December 17th at 9 a.m. Bond will continue with the pretrial release program, and you're to have no contact, either directly or indirectly, with Shelley Joyner.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Welcome.
Mitchell Lump, 2015 TRD 9030, driving without a valid license, failure to display or expired plates, and speeding. Your Honor, the state would ask for count 1 to be dismissed without prejudice, as the defendant declared his license and is now valid.
To the remaining charges, Your Honor, my client's sentence to no contest stipulated to fine and waiving presentation of evidence.
Good morning, Mr. Jew.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Court's going to grant the motion of the prosecutor. Mr. Lump, the court's going to then find you guilty of one count of failure to display or expired plates. The fine will be $50 in court costs. I'll find you guilty of count number 3, speeding, and all says court costs only as to that charge. If you have a seat to my left, they'll be with you in a few moments.
Christopher Tripp,
Thank you.
2015 PRC 9270, OVI, and speeding.
Good morning, Your Honor. Michael Stewart for Chris.
Morning, ma'am.
We would enter a not guilty plea, and Chris has executed the explanation of rights.
Judge Polis, December 17th, 9 a.m.
Court's going to set the pretrial conference. That'll be with Judge Polis for this coming Thursday, December 17th at 9 a.m. Court will continue the bond. Mr. Tripp will need to be booked before he leaves here today. Once that booking is completed, he'll be free to go.
Very good. Thank you, Your Honor.
Sandra Gizzard-Brzak, 2015 PRC 9426, OVI, and speed.
Morning, Your Honor. Attorney Adam Willis on behalf of Sandra Gizzard.
Morning, Mr. Willis.
Morning. She entered a plea of not guilty after a pretrial date to be set. She understands she does need to be booked today.
Judge Bobby, December 16th, 9 a.m.
The court's going to set the pretrial conference. That'll be with Judge Falvey for next Wednesday, December 16th at 9 a.m. The court will continue the bond, and the booking will take place as soon as possible. If you'll have a seat to my left, I'll be with you as soon as it's
Thank you,
done.
Your Honor. Follow me right.
That's it for attorneys. We have 4 non-guilties.
I'll need to read the rights then. Since they're not ready, I'll go ahead and read the rights. Good morning. This is arraignment court. I want to explain to you some of the rights you have concerning your appearance in court today. You have a right to retain a lawyer to represent you, and you have the right to a reasonable continuance of your case so that you can obtain the assistance of a lawyer. You also have a right to have a lawyer appointed for you in the event you're unable to retain a lawyer on your own. You have the right to bail bond if the offense you're charged with is a bailable offense. You're not required to make any statement in court today except one of the various pleas I'm going to tell you about if you're charged with a misdemeanor. If you're charged with a misdemeanor, you may enter one of the following 3 pleas. First, you may enter a plea of guilty, which is an admission of the charge against you. If you enter a plea of guilty, you'll be sentenced by the court today. You may also enter a plea of not guilty, which is a denial of the charge. If you enter a plea of not guilty, your case will be set for pretrial conference in the near future, and following that, a trial date. If you enter a plea of not guilty, you have a right to a jury trial where the maximum penalty in your case exceeds a fine of $150. You may also enter a plea of no contest, which means you offer no defense to the charge or charges against you. This plea is neither an admission nor a denial of the charge, but by it you stipulate that the court may make a determination that you are guilty based upon an explanation of the case by the prosecutor. A plea of no contest cannot be used against you in any future civil or criminal proceeding. If you plead no contest, I will make the determination as to whether you're guilty or not guilty. Please keep in mind that any statement that you would make, other than the entry of one of those three pleas, can and may be used against you, so you should be careful as to what you say in court today since these proceedings are being recorded. If you've been charged with a felony, you will not be called upon to plead at this time. This is what's called an initial appearance. You have those same rights I previously explained concerning obtaining a lawyer. You'll be handed a copy of the complaint against you. You have a right to a preliminary hearing in your case, which you can make a demand will be set at this time, and bail bond will be fixed if it has not already been set. The pretrial conferences we'll be setting today regularly take place in courtrooms numbers 1 and 3. Courtroom number 1 being the large courtroom to the right as you exit this courtroom, courtroom number 3 being across the large hallway. If you plead guilty or no contest to a traffic charge, I'll be asking you for proof of your financial responsibility, which for most of us means proof of insurance. If you plead not guilty to a traffic charge, I would suggest that you bring with you to your pretrial conference proof of your financial responsibility. When your name and case are called, please come up in front of the table and the microphone. Do not lean on the table, do not have your hands in your pockets, and do not have any chewing gum in your mouth. If you currently have gum in your mouth, simply raise your hand and one of the courtroom bailiffs will provide a waste paper basket for you to throw that gum away in. Do not leave that position until instructed to do so either by myself, the prosecutor, or one of the courtroom bailiffs. In the event you were charged with operating a motor vehicle while under the influence or domestic violence, you should have in your possession a sheet of paper that has an explanation of the penalty provisions for that particular offense. Do not fold, spindle, or mutilate that sheet of paper. Rather, you'll be required to sign and date it. It will become part of your file before you enter a plea in your particular case. In the event you choose to plead guilty or no contest to a particular charge or charges, I'll be re-explaining to you some of the rights you just heard. Additionally, I will be telling you what the maximum penalties for those offenses happen to be. That's not meant to scare you, but I want you to understand the parameters of the court sentencing practices. And as I mentioned before, these proceedings are being recorded. Therefore, there shall be no noise in this courtroom. Once you're in the courtroom, not permitted to leave until a case is called. If an emergency should arise before a case is called, simply raise your hand and one of the bailiffs come determine the nature of that emergency. Two main rules for this from this moment on. No noise for any reason, and don't leave the chair you're currently sitting in unless you're coming up in front of that table. If you need to leave for any other reason, raise your hand and one of the bailiffs will come and speak to you. Everybody understand those two main rules? Any questions about those rules? Okay. I'm ready. Yeah. Morning, Ms. Stout.
Morning, Your Honor.
Morning, Mr. Hartz.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is case number 2015 CRA 5643, State of Ohio versus Dragan Sekulic, charged with one count of aggravated murder. The record reflected copies of the complaints have been served upon the defendant.
Mr. Kukutis.
Good morning, Your Honor. Andrew Kukutis on behalf of Mr. Sekulic. We would acknowledge receipt of a copy of the complaint, waive its reading in open court, as well as any defects in time, manner, or service as the preliminary hearing be set.
The court's going to set the preliminary hearing for December 16th at 1 p.m. Bond will be in the amount of $5 million.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well,
Terry Beaver, 2015 CRA 5663, trafficking in controlled substance in possession of heroin. 2015
Let me know.
CRB 5667,
when they want to leave, let me know so
obstructing
I'll
official
stop.
business and resisting arrest.
Ms. Stout?
Your Honor, we just asked to wait for the special preliminary hearing.
Court's going to set the preliminary hearing in the pretrial conference for December 17th at 1:35 p.m. Bond will be in the amount of $75,000.
They could do it now.
Okay.
Some mics up here too. So.
Yeah, let's